Yeah, thanks, man, for having me.
Oh, not a problem, man. I was actually watching your episode 3 and I was just kind of like going through some stuff, and usually whenever I do my podcast, I know we kind of talked about just kind of collaborating and doing this, just
Right.
doing our thing together.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
I got kind of jealous with yours because it's just like, let's just talk about life, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna send that to everybody from now on. Let's just talk about what your life's like right now.
Right.
So,
Right. Are you recording now?
yeah, it's on call recorder, so
Okay. Awesome.
it's like set it and forget it kind of stuff. So
Awesome. Nice.
so
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Life. You know.
so speaking of life, what happened under your eye here, man?
Oh, right here. I wish I could give you like a really good story about MMA or something, but yeah, it's not. I'm pretty allergic to spiders.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not all, but I think like black widows, brown widows. I mean, I think everybody is,
Yeah.
but for me, it just does something like really. My face. I'm surprised it's not as swollen as it usually gets.
Yeah.
It might have been like a baby one, but I had to like get all the venom out as much as I could. I freak out about these things because I've been in the hospital twice about it.
Jesus.
So whenever that happens, I'm like trying to do whatever I need to do to get it out. I know it's already in my bloodstream somehow,
Yeah.
but I'm keeping an eye on it. Hopefully, it doesn't get any worse.
You're still kicking, right?
I'm still kicking it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I think it was about 2 years back. I was when we duck hunt, we got these blinds that are like giant sleeping bags. I think I got bit on my leg, and then over time it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, swelled up. Oh my God, it was terrible. And then one day it was real gross. And this is whatever. We'll put explicit content on this one. But one day I'm like sitting there playing with it, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And I squeezed it too hard, just the fucking thing just popped. I'm like, "Oh my God!" My wife was like, "That's gross. Just get away from me."
Yeah, they're gross. The last time I got one, it was like on my pinky. It must have been like a black widow, but my whole face got full of like pimples and like blisters and like my hand. So I ended up in the hospital like a few days.
Jesus. Where was that, out in San Diego you got bit, or were you out?
Yeah.
Because you guys just got done hiking or something like that, right?
We always go hiking, yeah.
You and JT and...
Oh, it didn't happen then.
Okay.
No, this happened it's been like 3 years probably since it happened.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I was like today very freaked out. I was like, oh, Jesus, please tell me it's not going to happen. So far it's all good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you're at that point where you're just kind of like, when it happens, you're like, oh boy. You just kind of
Maybe I become Spider-Man, hopefully.
That'd be nice, huh? That'd be nice. You've been training it all lately, or?
Yeah, everyone is training for. The Worlds is done now.
Okay.
And I was talking about that stuff with my last guest, my buddy Hendrix.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to do this Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's two of them. There's adults and there's masters.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not 20 years old anymore, so it shouldn't be an excuse. But I still felt like I wasn't 100% ready to, very confident to think. I wanted to go in with the mind, if I was going in today thinking I was going to win, it would have been a bit delusional because of the training. I could see that in my training.
Yeah.
Not that you should not tell yourself, you got to go and win, you got to go for number one or whatever, but you also have to somehow face reality sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So, but I still have the next 3 months or 2.5 months for Masters, which that was my ideal goal.
Okay.
And few of the tournaments between that one and the Masters.
Okay.
So it's good. I have 3 tournaments, so June, July, and I think it's August, which my son is going to be doing it too. So
Nice. How old is your oldest son, right?
Yeah, Luke. He's gonna be 14 on the 14th.
Okay, so he's dominating out there.
He took a break for like 2 years
Yeah.
when I was going through a bunch of surgeries,
Okay.
and he kind of saw it as like, my sponsorship contracts are on hold right now. Maybe this is my ticket out, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think he just needed a break.
Yeah.
And then he came back, and he competed at Pan Am's. He got second. He got second at Pan Am's a few months ago. So it wasn't that bad for being off competition for 2 years.
Yeah. Seriously.
You know what I mean? But he
So
felt like the butterflies and everything. He was pretty nervous, he said.
those
Usually he
those are
wouldn't.
good though.
But that's good, humble him.
Exactly. Those butterflies though. That's what really makes you kind of succeed. Where does when you talk about worlds? Because like I'm I have two events planned, not jujitsu. I have hunting one and then the marathon, and then after that I'm getting into jujitsu. So where do the worlds
Nice.
go into with regard to like Naga? Are you familiar with Naga at all?
Yeah. So Naga is it's more like it's a jiu-jitsu tournament, but they're like their own federation or their own. They have different rules than the actual Brazilian federation.
Okay.
And they, I don't know. Some people argue whether they should or not allow kids to perform like guillotines, ankle locks, things like that.
Yeah.
Because they're still too little.
Yeah.
But if you don't like it, just don't enter the tournament, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're teaching kids control. I mean, how could you? It's
Yeah.
better than teaching them boxing or
Yeah.
or kickboxing or anything like that. Then you're just throwing punches all day long. Like jujitsu, you're teaching the other guy like, okay, I'm out. I gotta submit. You gotta
Right.
tap, and the other guy needs to know that. All right, I'm the senior guy. I need to watch everybody else.
Right.
I kind of need to supervise here. So I think, hell, when my daughter's old enough, she's doing jujitsu. She ain't doing anything
Yeah,
else.
jiu-jitsu is the way to go.
Yeah, I was really excited. My wife asked me, she's like, "Are you excited to do this podcast today?" And I'm like, "You're damn right." I go, I get to talk because
Nice.
I don't come up for air. B, I get to do a podcast, and that's kind of new to me and new to you too.
Yeah.
But number three, when I found out you guys were jiu-jitsu guys, I get real excited. I'm kind of like a hang-around for jiu-jitsu guys
good.
right now. Or like one of my coaches was a huge jiu-jitsu guy, Chris Nicholson, and he's doing a bunch of MMA stuff right now. But I can't wait for these two events to be over and jump into the jiu-jitsu game, man. It's going to be a whole nother world, I'm sure.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu is definitely like a life changer,
Absolutely.
and you can do it recreationally, you can do it competitively, but you always have this like I don't know. I feel like in a lot of other sports, like this is like a solo sport in a sense that it's you competing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or fighting with someone.
Yeah.
But you still need someone to compete with. So you have a training partner or other people that you may not see again, like in a tournament.
Yeah.
But you still have this sense of like family in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
To where like you all relate, you all compete, but you still kind of humble each other down and respect a lot.
Yeah.
While in other sports, it seems like it is more egocentric to a certain extent,
Yeah.
So, yeah, and jiu-jitsu definitely, gives you lots of confidence, especially if you're training with like really badass guys.
Yeah.
You feel like you fit now in like a different circle.
Yeah.
And for me, it changed. It humbled me, obviously. Sometimes you look at a very skinny kid, with glasses and
Yep.
the nerd stereotype, right?
Yep.
And that guy can whoop some ass, and sometimes you're like, wait, what's going on? Like this is.
Yeah, it
This is a kid
doesn't
that-
compute.
Doesn't compute at first, but it teaches you that you shouldn't judge everybody by the way you look.
Yeah.
So yeah, after a while, like it humbles you, and then you have to just accept, like, oh wow, like it's not that bad to to be humble, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To be a good guy.
Exactly.
Because I feel like, I mean, maybe it was when I grew up that way, but you hang out with certain people that are trying to fit in, right? Everybody's trying to fit in somehow.
Yeah. Exactly.
And if you're trying to, you hang out with people that, I don't know, like maybe they have lots of insecurities, or they just belong to a bad circle. Essentially, gets to you, and you kind of leave aside your humbleness in a way, and you become like what you hate the most, like bullies and the badass dude with the leather jacket that walks everywhere and wants to be like, or the next like Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell sort of thing.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be slick,
Yeah.
So they try to be somebody else. They try to be like the James Dean or the whatever. And in jiu-jitsu humbles you so much that you realize, like, damn, being like this dude is just Hollywood, like I don't need to be me. And almost 99% of the people I've talked to about jiu-jitsu, they almost feel the same way. Very humbling, and it's good. Lots of people, I think, they need that in their life, sometimes. At least for me, it helped me.
Yeah, I think most of the people I talk to about it, I never hear them say anything like truly negative about it in any way, or say like, oh, this, it just wasn't for me. Like, I think anybody who gets into it is like, even if they get into it for a little while and then like life takes a turn, they can't do it for one reason or another, injury, like they're always like, I feel like they always kind of like cite like, oh, back when I would like roll with this guy, roll with that guy. I'm like, you rolled with people? Like, you're like 110 pounds soaking wet. How did you do that? And the more you start to learn about it, like, there's a dude, Daniele Borelli. He does History on Fire, and he's this like stereotypical history nerd, and he does a podcast on iTunes, and I think he's a black belt
in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he's sponsored by Onnit and all these guys. It's like, holy, he's big in with Joe Rogan and all those guys. Like, he's no joke. And if you saw him, like you said, if you saw him on the street, you're like, the one-dimensional thinker would say,
right,
oh, I could kick that guy's ass, but
right,
man, you try. I don't think it would pan out too well for you,
But I think it humbles you too, in the sense that, like, it makes you mature as a person.
Yeah.
So that, you know what I mean? Like, before jiu-jitsu, I mean, part is like not fear so much, but in a sense fear, because how much sometimes you wonder, I wonder if these guys really know, like, who, like, if you go to like a place like, I don't know, PB or like OB, and guys are drunk and you're just doing your business, and some guys are just the typical, like, a-hole.
Exactly.
But in your mind, you're like, just whatever, keep going, like, you already know what's going to happen. Like, they're drunk or whatever. But I've always asked myself, like, do they really know? Like, I mean, I really hope they can back it up, because to me, they're just like barkers, right?
Yeah.
But 10 years ago, before jiu-jitsu, I wouldn't have avoided a fight. I would have just charged and like scrapped with people like that. So jiu-jitsu does help you. It gives you like peace, like internal peace, because you've learned so much so far. And it's not like I'm a black belt yet, but you know enough to where there's no need to prove it to people anymore.
Right.
Like, you don't feel like you need to get in fights and things, and it mellows you down as a person.
Yeah. Well, you got everything you prove is to yourself.
Exactly.
And that's when you succeed the best. I mean, it just in my experience, and not with jiu-jitsu, but with the triathlon I did, I was just like, I know I'm not going to win. I'm just going to go out there and beat myself. And I finished third. And I was like, when I finished, I looked at the time, I was like, someone made a fucking mistake. Like, there's no way. Like, I finished this time. And then I look at the time, I'm like, all right. And I love it because there's a picture of me when I get out of the water for stage 1. And I clearly, like, just looked at my watch and just looked up, like, I just completely crushed my personal best. Like,
that's pretty.
But there's this face
awesome.
where I'm like, I can't, like, you could see on my face where I can't fucking believe what just happened. So
That's awesome.
it's pretty sweet. But like and I had
What was the timing?
I don't even remember what the time was. I think it was normally I did the swim in like I think it was like 22 minutes when I was training, but I did it in like 17 this time.
Wow,
I
that's
mean, it
pretty
just
good.
completely like, and there were a lot of factors going behind it. Like at the time, because this is in Chicago, so the race starts off like at this marina where the crowd can go the entire length of
It's
of the
like a
race.
harbor,
Yeah, yeah, inside a
right?
harbor.
Okay.
And so my mom and my wife, I could hear them over anybody else. Like, because I got my left ear out of the water because I swim in this really jacked up way, like completely non-conventional. And I'm swimming, all I could hear is the two of them. And so I must have just been just completely using that to just drive me through. But it's really cool, and I've yet to find that in anything else. And that's why I keep telling my wife, I'm like, as soon as I find a gym that's close to our house,
You can always,
you're not gonna
you
see
can
me like
always.
3 or 4 days a week. Like that's just how it's gonna be.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can always. For some reason, it's funny. You can always hear moms and like wives, daughters scream like when you're competing or doing something like that.
Oh,
Like you can hear other people, but somehow they become louder.
yeah. It's like
You know, and
you're like honed in to hear that, right?
maybe because I feel like the best part in competing is, or I think in anything, when you hear like crowds
Mm-hmm.
cheering for you, right?
Oh yeah.
It has to feel really really good.
Yeah, it just
Like
jacks you up.
yeah, like it's like, oh, if I'm tired, hell no, like I just gotta keep pushing the pace, you know. So that's why having people that look up to you, like fans or whatever, don't do it just for the number, but do it for because it is good to like if people that follow me or I follow them, like when I want to believe that cheering for them, it gives them some sort of juju to keep doing what they're doing, right?
Oh,
So for
absolutely.
me, it's the same. Like people that are, for whatever reason, they're interested in what I say, um, or what I do. It's like I was hearing at your podcast with I'm trying to think the name. I think it was about Everett.
Yeah, Everett was that's Joe Gatlin. That was episode
Joe.
1. Yeah.
So he was saying like, you know, with great powers come great responsibilities, right?
Hmm.
And yeah, like it's you know you have some sort of responsibility when you decide to start like something like this or like a YouTube channel or something because people are listening or viewing like what you're doing, and if for whatever reason they're into it, you know, that means that your work is paying off in one way.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's weird like how it works, like what it does to the mind to have positive energy from other people, you know?
It's reciprocal, and it's like it
Yeah.
just keeps going back and forth again, you know. And you tie it back to to like the fight game. I watched my coach Chris again, and I to keep referencing him, I don't think I would have even thought of this before. But I went to one of his fights out here in Bedford, and he had the biggest crowd come to that fight, and you hear
Wow.
them screaming as soon as he comes in. He starts and he's dominating almost the entire fight. There were a couple times he definitely got on the ground, and the guy had him, but
Right.
then the crowd kicked in. He got out of the hold, and then
That's
he's
good. Oh
upright,
wow.
and
Yeah, that's pretty
he's
good.
going, he's going. He got down on the ground again. He got kind of held up. Then the crowd went crazy again, and he got up. It was just like this back and forth thing. It's borderline damn magical, man. I love it.
It is. It is.
I love
It's
it.
like the energy, man.
Yeah.
You
Uh,
know, it's crazy.
And it's and when you talk about like crowds and like people following you and everything, like the event I'm doing in June, they don't allow anybody to come watch. So I'm like, how the hell am I gonna fucking do this if
Really?
I can't hear anybody like yell? It's gonna be like silent. It's gonna be weird.
What is it?
It's trained to hunt. It's like a hunter triathlon. I bow hunt
Uh
like
huh.
a whole ton, and it's honestly one of those things that after everything that happened with my son, like kind of saved my life.
Yeah.
But but when I was watching like the rule video and everything, they're like, we don't allow spectators, we don't allow anybody to come in anymore. I'm like, oh shit!
Wow.
So and that talk about a challenge. Like you're not going to hear that crowd anymore. So now it's like another.
Why is that?
Yeah, I think people just get in the way. I think they're.
Do you think it's that, or do you think it's the fact that maybe there's like there's always the people against like animal, let's see it as animal cruelty, or
Maybe.
some lefties over there or liberal freaks that.
It's pretty closed off. I think it's just more so they're understaffed. I kind of
Think
like,
so?
I want to believe the best in people and that they're not going to come and sabotage something where because it's like hunting and fitness together. So I want to believe people kind of like, it kind of crosses a couple different types of genres.
Right.
But
It happens during season though, right?
oh yeah,
Like, during open season.
oh yeah, especially
So
I
yeah,
had
like I don't see the issue there.
I
Really.
do you do any hunting at all?
No, I like to.
Oh, we gotta get a
I
bow
would
in your
love to.
we gotta
I
get a
want to. Yeah, I want to
bow in
learn
your
how
hand,
to.
man.
My grandpa used to hunt,
Yeah.
and like my parents, for some reason, they just never wanted him to take me. I guess.
Yeah.
Um, they grew up like different, like more in like the city, and my grandfather was more of like the rural hiking type of personality. So they had like farms and things like that. So he was always like hunting stuff, and he would come by with like some crazy stories. So I was like, damn, when I have my kids, I want to like learn how to hunt, and like when they have their kids, I want to be like my grandpa, you know.
Yeah.
So um, definitely, yeah, definitely, like that's something that I need to learn.
Yeah. There's a certain amount of like self-reliance that you tend to learn in it. But there's such a it's I hate it because there's such a big barrier to entry
Really,
for it because like if you want to start bow hunting it gets expensive and then like finding land to go hunt and doing it legally
right?
is sometimes it's frustrating when you look at the laws. If you ever like read through the laws, you need to have above a JD to be able to read through some of those things.
Really,
Yeah, it's
is it how? What about like the versus the law of like rifles or
any hunting. I mean,
any hunting?
any
Okay,
kind of hunting, like the like public land laws and everything, and state by state. Like California, I think is fairly strict. Um, Illinois is pretty damn strict with where you can go and where you can't go. And then
right.
when you go to public land, you get guys who say like, "Hey, this is my bullies," basically.
Really?
Yeah, it gets kind of funky. I got
Oh,
lucky.
it gets like that. Wow.
It gets pretty brutal.
Like locals are very territorial. Like
Uh-huh.
they're taking my food away, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, and not necessarily taking my food away, but this is my honey hole.
Oh damn!
Back
Come
off,
on, man.
and they get a little funky. Even guys who run the hunt clubs, they get
Really?
weird about that stuff, and it sucks because it especially sucks as I see like tying it back to like the jujitsu stuff. Like I see everyone in jujitsu like it's one family. If someone gets out of line, that
Right.
whole family puts that fucker right back in line.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And I wish it was the same. I wish I could say that's the same thing for hunting, but it's not.
Huh.
It
That's so
sucks.
weird.
And I love it
Yeah.
so much, but I really wish it was.
Damn.
So,
Yeah, I didn't think it would be like that.
yeah, it's once you start really get into it, and when you really start really like
Liking it.
yeah, when it's something it becomes like your interest, where you're like, oh shit, I want to do this a little bit more often.
Right.
You start really seeing the nitty gritty of it.
Oh
And
wow.
it gets a little funky sometimes, but shooting a bow, even if you're not hunting, it's fun. If
Really?
you've got the space, I know you got a little bit of space over there in your studio there.
Yeah.
How big is your new studio there?
It's like I would say maybe like 800 square footage, maybe.
800 square feet. You got enough for a good target range in there.
It's like two car garage, 2.5. Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, shit.
but it gets hot here though.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
Just
so
like
we
the
need to
gym.
like put like a AC or something.
Yeah. Well, it's still a new studio, so you got some improvements to keep going.
Yeah, over time, I think
Yeah.
there's equipment I need to. There's like a few things I need extra, but they're around like 25,000-3,000 bucks. So I have a goal like at a certain episode number. I'll eventually like start investing little by little, you know.
Yeah.
So, but it's all about timing. I'm
Yeah.
not like I'm having fun. I don't want to make it like stressful, you know. So
Yeah. The best thing to do, man, is make it organic.
yeah,
It's great when you
definitely.
can just go down a bunch of rabbit holes and just kind of chat with people right now. Especially when you don't get, like, I hear, like, a lot of people talk about when they get sponsors. They're like, the sponsors say what I have to, tell me what I got to talk
Yeah,
about.
yeah. So it is because it's a business, right? So like I try to put myself in like both shoes. So I try to think like the sponsor guy and the sponsor or the brand sponsoring,
Yeah.
just to like not be too biased to one or the other, you
Mm-hmm.
know, very neutral, I guess. But yeah, I understand because as a business, they're trying to make money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they're paying or giving stuff for free to someone, they definitely I would want them to like represent my brand everywhere, not just the brand, but like a good image for my brand, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, when they start to kind of try to shape you into the avatar that they want,
Yeah.
then yeah, screw that doesn't go with me, you know.
Yeah.
I'll be respectful. I'll represent it the right
Mm-hmm.
way, but don't try to change like who I am because this is who you got. You
Yeah.
were attracted to at first, right? So why would you want me to become something else that?
Yeah.
So yeah, I can relate to both. You know.
Yeah. It's good to be able to see both perspectives too, because then you can
Yeah.
kind of plan a little bit better too.
Yeah, definitely.
What are you doing when you're not podcasting out here?
And so it's not just podcasting and jujitsu though. It's
Right.
I do lots of sports.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all the like extreme sports, like
Okay.
board sports,
Okay.
surfing, snowboarding, skateboarding, sandboarding. Um, I'm gonna start doing skydiving with my buddy Hendrix.
Nice.
Yeah, we do cliff jumps, just like and I'm open to try anything really, like anything new that just to experience more things. I don't want to just limit myself.
Yeah.
Uh, but everything I try to do with the boys too. So
Try to get them early.
yeah,
So,
definitely.
so those young child prodigies that are doing it when they're like pros and they're like 15 years
Yeah,
old.
yeah. It's I feel like I've done my job pretty well so far. As I'm not a typical parent kind of.
Yeah,
I feel it's more like I'm their older brother kind of.
yeah. I
Uh,
I heard you talking about that on one of the. I can't remember which episode it was. Where it's just like you tell your kids like these are the mistakes I made. Like these
yeah,
this is you're like open and honest with them. And I was like, man, like when Evie's here, I'm just gonna tell her the mistakes that I made. When it comes up to something, I'm gonna say, you know what, I made this mistake.
right.
Do what you want. I hope you learn from it, because I sure as shit did. I mean,
Yeah,
I'd imagine I'll pump the brakes at some point in time, but when
right.
I was listening to that, I don't know, it was a day or two ago. I was listening to that, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes me feel better. Someone else is doing that same shit too. At least I'm not alone with that.
Yeah, that's I think oh, and by the way, like, you know, I mean, I don't want to bring it up really, but yeah, like sorry you had to go through that event, you know, man. Like
Oh, don't be. It's why we're talking right now,
it's
man.
like yeah, like it's always like in all pregnancies I felt the same way.
Yeah,
Like you know, something's gonna happen. You kind of get this paranoia a little bit
yeah,
because you've seen it happen or you heard of it.
yeah,
And yeah, with Leo, like my last one, I mean, thank God, you know, that it didn't go that route. But it was a very scary moment during birth
yeah.
because the cord was wrapped around his neck,
Really?
and yeah, and this was the first time that mom had used epidural, and you know, she was kind of like out
Yeah.
there, and when he came out, he was just very purple,
Mm-hmm.
and the nurse kept shaking her head, and I was across, like in front of her, kind of, and or like across the bed, like on the other side of the bed, and
Right.
I'm just looking at mom and then looking at the nurse, and I was like, in my mind was like, oh shit, please tell me this is not happening. Like, what am I
Yeah.
gonna tell her right now? Like,
Yeah.
no, this isn't happening. And well, she had Tourette syndrome, the nurse. So she was just doing this
Oh,
thing and like
Jesus.
doing this weird like facial expressions that I was like, I wish you told me that shit like earlier, dude.
Yeah, you got to
Because
kind of
eventually,
preface
like,
that.
yeah, eventually, like like smack him a little bit and like suction a bunch of stuff out, and he
Yeah.
started breathing. And I was like, oh, for a minute, I was like, why would you shake your head? Like, you were like saying no, 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 and the doctor was, it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. No, it's that she has this thing where like that's all she's doing is, and I was like, oh, Jesus, like, do you have like a Xanax or something there? Like, this is, and I was explaining that to mom, and mom just like started crying because she was like, I'm sorry, like, you probably thought like the baby was gone, you know, and.
Yeah.
That was like the worst, like the scariest one.
Yeah. It sucks, doesn't it?
It's horrible, man.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
even going through it just a little bit, and I've talked to guys from all ends of the spectrum, and people who have gone through something like what you just described, where it was like
horrible.
it was a complete scare, but everything turned out okay. To like 18 years down the road,
It's
like
horrible.
their son dies of addiction or something like that, or
Yeah,
from something. But it's always that one split second when you think everything has gone wrong.
right.
That's the one commonality that binds everybody, man. And
Yeah,
it's crazy. So I mean I'm glad, and I had no idea before we got on this thing. I'm glad you can relate.
yeah,
That's the best part, because then like you go through this transcendence of being able to talk to people then, because you're like, I went through that shit. I went through hell, even for that brief moment where you're talking about when the
right.
baby's blue, people are shaking their head. You don't know what else is going on.
Yeah,
And then you come on this other end, you're a different person. You're a completely different
yeah.
person.
I don't wish. I mean, I'm pretty sure, like as parents, like you'll go through that. Not that particular one, but you'll go through moments that will make you please tell me this is not like
Yeah.
so. But that's just kind of how, like, I mean, I'm pretty sure I put my parents through lots of
Oh my
shit, you
God.
know?
I'm
So
so glad my
I'm pretty sure
parents.
I'm still doing it with the crazy stuff I do. So
Oh yeah.
my mom doesn't even want to see the videos.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, you guys are, and you're teaching your sons to do this stuff. Like,
Yeah. I mean, just college alone. Like, if my parents knew half the stuff that almost happened to me,
yeah.
I mean, I had to have my left ear sewn back on in
Oh,
college from something really, really stupid. It was like, at the time, I was like, not a big deal. Like, I just go to the emergency room, have it sewn back on. I was drunk. I didn't feel anything, whatever. But, like, 2 inches to the right, and it's like, I'm in a wheelchair the rest of my life, at best.
oh,
So it's
man.
like, holy shit. Like, and I talk with my wife about this all the time. I'm like, how are we going to remain sane when we can't control every situation of our kids' lives?
Yeah, that's
Whew.
the tough one, man. Because it's like, and this is the thing. Like, they are more savvy than we are,
Yep.
as we were more savvy than our parents.
Right?
So it's getting, because they're evolving into a different type of human being, and their kids will do the same, right?
Yeah.
And it just goes on like that. So yeah, man, I sometimes, yeah, it's hard to even think that something like that could happen. I mean, it's possible, you know, that
Yeah.
unfortunate. So it's good to like reflect on the fact that they're still here,
Yeah.
you know, and like appreciate every moment that you have, or just
Yeah. It,
never know, man. You know?
you really don't. And I think at some point in time, you just gotta let go and say, what happens happens, and
Yeah,
we all handle it together, you know, and
yeah, yeah.
and
You know,
we all build on it, and you know, I think some people have good support groups and everything. Others have different types of family. Like I'm sure, you know, you've got all different kinds of family out there, not just with your
yeah,
everyone in your real family, but you got your jiu-jitsu family and every other extreme sport I'm sure you're in. Is probably a bunch of guys
yeah.
that
We're all family, you know,
yeah
everybody.
yeah
So Yeah, the last time I had one like that was with Luke, maybe like a few years ago, and it was like at a baseball game, and he they went into like the clubhouse. They call it. It's like where all the kids kind of sneak in, and
Yeah.
I don't know. They're just little the club, right? Like
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
the cool house or
They're all
whatever.
right there. They're good.
You know, but they're not doing any. They weren't doing anything. Like I was just more concerned of like because I've been kidnapped when I was kidnapped when I was maybe 16
Really?
for yeah for like not even for like few hours, but I think it had to do with like my dad's status. He was like
He's a
running.
politician, right?
He was a politician,
Yeah.
so um, because of that, now that I'm a parent, I've seen and I've heard like other stories about shit. I don't know, just kids missing out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So he was missing, and all the kids were coming back, and it's like, "Where's Luke?" Oh, he was there. He's at the clubhouse. Weren't you there? Like, yeah. But so where is he then? I don't know. So everybody's looking for Luke everywhere, like all over the park, and couldn't find him. And so I had to call like my friends, and like they started sending choppers,
Holy
and
shit.
I was like, because I was like paranoid. Like I was like, please, this is not like the time this is happening. Like I was like talking to him, what did I do wrong? Like is this happening really
Yeah.
for real? Like and then you feel like guilt, like oh, you should have kept an eye on him more, or like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, all these weird thoughts. And and then he just comes back walking, right? And I was like, dude, where the hell were you? It's like, well, I was at the clubhouse. It's like, but no one knew where you were. Well, they just kind of left. I went back, and then I came back, and I'm here. Like, what's the big deal? And I was like, oh, bro, like you don't understand. Like I was like, dude, no, this isn't happening. My kid's being snatched from me, or so, And I had to like, yeah, the cops were like, yeah, it's all good, don't panic, like da da da.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, what a big deal, like da da da. But it was like at the moment, it felt
Yeah.
like it was life or death kind of thing to me. I couldn't picture my life without my kids.
No, you never can, and you never want to, you know. But were you like when you were going through that, like inside, like I could definitely tell, like on the inside you were freaking out. What were you like on the outside? Were you like stone faced? I'm looking for my kid. I need to find him. This is
I
what's
was
going.
almost like,
Or were you like kind of like,
because I'm very spiritual,
yeah,
so like as it was happening, I thought like, shit, man, whatever I've done in the past, or like maybe I'm paying for my parents' bullshit when they were, because like I feel like what goes around comes around. Like
mm-hmm.
if you do bad stuff and it doesn't come to you, it may come to your kids or their kids, but at some point you're gonna pay for what you do,
Yeah,
even if you're not doing it directly. And some things are just like by they just happen. Sometimes things just happen, and you just have to embrace what happens, and maybe it happens for a good reason, right? For like
right.
a different purpose. So I was kind of like please, like I called God like dad, right? Like father figure kind of thing.
Yeah,
And I'm like, please, like what did I do? Like everything was going fine. Like you can't just take him away from me,
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, like I was like trying to not to cry, but it was just overreaction at the
yeah,
end,
it,
you know.
yeah. It's what it is, man, and
When I
it's
saw him, I
it's
was very
crazy.
pissed
Yeah.
that he didn't call back or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But he was like, "Dude, chill out, like what's going on?" But I was trying to like make him understand, like, dude, because it's hard to make you feel what I felt. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
felt like half of me, my better half, was gone, kind of thing. Like I was like, great.
yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, dude. Like, shit, phone died."
Yeah, yeah, my phone died. You see, like not delivered on there or something.
Damn it.
From
Yeah, man.
from what you said about Luke, and I think it was episode one with JT. Like I imagine Luke is like you said he's 14, but I imagine him as like this 18-year-old dude. Like he's super chill, like whatever, Like, I'm fine.
He's
Let's go roll.
Yeah, Luke is pretty. He's a character though, because he's such a cool kid, and like everybody wants to hang out with him,
Yeah,
and he doesn't really have this ego at all. Like,
that's good.
um, yeah, it doesn't. Like every kid has like, I don't know. Everybody wants to like, you know, get some sort of attention from someone. Like everybody wants to be noticed, right?
Yeah,
But he's not like an attention whore, I guess. Like most lots of kids nowadays are.
yeah, not a
He
class clown or anything like that.
he doesn't care about his Instagram. I mean, he cares about like the people that he's engaging, like his fans, right?
Yeah,
But he doesn't really care. Like, oh, he doesn't check on the numbers. Like, he's like, dude, like, I don't. I'm just glad this is helping them, or like I'm glad that they're following me. I don't know. I'm not that special, really.
yeah,
So it's very nice to hear him say things like that, because then it makes me feel like, oh, you're doing a good job, and humbles me even more to hear my own son doing that.
yeah.
Um,
Pure.
it's yeah, it's like his name means the light giver. So for me, it's like everywhere he goes, he has this light around his aura, kind of, right,
Yeah,
and he's and like bringing it to people. So definitely, he's like my light. Definitely, like it changed me from what I was to even, I mean, to a better person.
yeah,
Um, you just, as a parent, I think that you just learn every time. It just gets better and better.
yeah.
You're never ready.
No, no. I think I've learned that quite a bit, but I think I'm going to continue to learn that, being that I'm going to have that daughter coming along soon. Where I don't think I'm going to be ready for anything at this point. It's,
Yeah, with the daughter. Oh man.
yeah, it's funny. I got this picture. And I'll share it with you. I put it up on Facebook the other day. It was a memory from. We went to Oregon last year around this time, and it's just me sitting there with a glass of wine, just staring. And I shared it, and I'm like, this is gonna be me 18 years from now, staring at my daughter's boyfriend when he asks
Oh,
if he can date
great,
her. Like
great.
this stare, and like I felt like I was looking into my own damn soul from that picture. I'm like,
Oh man.
that picture will do. And then I put the animals up on the wall. I think we'll make a good impression.
That's funny.
Yeah.
When is she? When is the due date?
In just about a month, September 13th.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
it's almost here.
It's almost here, and then we get to
Oh,
finally have normal people problems again. Like
that's funny.
waking up in the middle of the night to feed a kid. I keep joking with her. I'm like, we're gonna be fighting to get up in the middle of the night to go feed her. You realize that, right? Like, it
That's
it's
that's
crazy.
an awesome feeling, though.
It's
You know?
it's great. Like we're stressed out. Don't get me wrong. Like, and we've had multiple breaking points, but like
Right.
I think we both just know that once that day comes, and she'll be out of the NICU, we get to come home.
Right.
Like we get those we get to have those normal people problems. And I got people at work that tell me like, you're gonna hate it being Mr. Mom for a while, because luckily enough I get to take quite a bit of time off from work
Right.
to stay home with my daughter. They're
That's
like, you're gonna
good.
hate it. I'm like, no, I'm fucking not. Like, I can tell you right now, I'm gonna appreciate every second of that.
You
Like,
have to.
like, and who knows what that'll lead to later on
I
down the
mean,
road.
I think you have like certain moments where you just get stressed, but I think it's not them. It's like the environment, your day, how it went,
Yeah.
the people you met. So unfortunately, they happen to be there if you're in a stressful
Yeah,
moment,
yeah,
But I'm so analytical about myself on things that I do that even yelling at them, it reminds me of my dad.
yeah,
So they know, like, oh yeah, just give him 5 minutes. Like, he's crying in the bathroom now because I yell at them, right? And looking at them, like, they know like what's going on, but I can't help asking myself, like, shit, like, are they gonna feel the same way when they're older, like the way I felt, like, you know what I mean? So because you want to be this perfect dad kind of thing, but there's no perfect.
no,
You still make mistakes. So, um, but yeah, I'm like that with my kids. Like, like my boys right now, it's like I call my kids because they're like our kids sort of thing. But to me, they're my like my future self,
Yeah.
right? So like my better version, kind of my other halves,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of parents they look at me like, whoa, like your way of raising them or like your relationship with them is very unorthodox, kind of like, I mean, very, how can you be friends with them that much? Like they need to be, you need to be an authority to them. And it makes me laugh because it's why do I have to be an authority, right? Like the authority, like the boss,
Mm-hmm.
or they know I'm dad, they know there's rules for a certain reason. And they're pretty good. They follow rules, and I I tell them how to deal with certain situations and whatever. But when I'm having fun with them, I can't have fun with this. I have to switch my mentality into like this teenage kind of thing,
Yeah.
and adapt to them, right? Because the way they want to have fun is probably different than the way I would want to have fun with like a 40 or 30-year-old man,
Well, yeah.
right? So so every time we go and do things together, like I have to adapt to what they want to do, and it brings my inner kid back so much that I can relate to them.
It's probably more
So
natural too once you start getting into that mode. It's probably more natural than being an authority anyway.
it is.
Because you're like, what am I the authority of? I'm just
It's
older.
not. It's not. It's like for me, it's like the dad role, or like I think of the term dad or father more like a title that you have to earn
Yep.
throughout your child's development, and you're also like this mentor, right? This like Obi-Wan to the next Skywalker sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
So you're passing on all your stuff into them, but at the same time, there's other people influencing your kids,
Yeah.
and but the first teacher of all is you, like the parents,
Yeah.
So if you don't do a good job, they're gonna have to listen eventually somewhere else, and that's what freaks you out.
Yeah.
So I try to relate to them that way, so that if they want to talk to me in their own language, then hey, I switch the mode into the way they want to speak.
Yeah.
And some guys are like, "Oh, you let them call you that?" Or like, "Yeah, what's wrong with them? Like they're freaking, they're just mini man right now. Like
Yeah.
they're
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 figuring it
not.
out.
They're trying to figure out what's going on. They're gonna be adults in 4 or 5 years. So
Yeah.
let them discover like what they want.
Exactly. And you gotta you gotta let them make their own mistakes too.
Of
Like,
course,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm talking about this like I've had the experience with it, but I just think back like, and my parents were amazing, and
That's good. That's
and
great.
I was very lucky, and I know a lot of people aren't that lucky, but at the same time, like we had our, we bumped
Right.
heads. Like when I come home from college, I was like 19 years old or so, 19, 20 years old. And like I'd come home from college for the summer, for Christmas break, and I would be like, so you'd be home at 12:30, right? I was like, fuck no, I won't be. So
Yeah.
don't even try.
Yeah.
And we had those things, but that meant nothing, you know. But
That's nothing though.
but the mistake thing, like I just think back, like, man, I think what scares me the most is the mistakes that they'll make,
Right.
and hopefully they learn from the mistakes. Because
I
I mean,
think
I've
they
learned
do. I
from
think
most
we
of them, but
do.
not all of them.
You didn't learn from all of them.
I don't think so. I
I
don't.
think it takes time. At some point, you do learn from them.
Yeah, you
Maybe
gotta
maybe
sit back and
years,
think
but you
about it.
learn.
Yeah, you just gotta. I guess it takes a little while for some of them to settle in, but I guess I just always hope that their mistakes aren't permanent. I got lucky
Yeah,
because
ideally.
some of mine could have been. I mean, both physically and
Right.
anything else. Like a speeding ticket's a speeding ticket, but 120 and a 50.
Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
that's a different kind of speeding ticket.
That's true. Yeah, I talk to them about stuff like that, and I tell them things I've done by mistake, definitely.
Yeah,
Like all my mistakes. but according to their age too. Like I don't want to plant seeds, the wrong seeds either in their
Right.
mind. You know what I mean?
It's that balance, man.
But I've told them, because like Luke's starting to ask about driving. Like I want to learn how to drive. So in 2 years, I'm gonna have my license, and I've told them stories of that when I was in high school and doing stupid stuff, and like that I'm not I can see why my parents were upset when I did it.
Right?
But at the time I was like, oh man, this guy is like, why are you're so grumpy,
Yeah.
what
What's
are
the
you
big
yelling at
deal?
me? Yeah, you just like destroyed the radiator, like overheated the car, and like I'm gonna spend shit ton of money in this thing. That's why I'm pissed,
Yeah.
so and so but it's hard to, because I feel like I just really hope that they don't do some stupid stuff and like bring back the story to me. Like, well, remember when you did this, And
Yeah.
like, how bad is this compared to what you did?
Yeah.
And that's what scares me at times, when they do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that at the same time because it puts me on a check mark all the time when
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
You're accountable.
I am. So it's like, hey, Dad, I know you're pissed, but hey, what goes around comes around,
Yeah.
Remember you did this to your dad,
Yeah.
or whatever. And I know they're trying to do it in a way to get out of the punishment, or like, give me your phone or whatever.
Yeah.
But when they do that, I'm not as pissed anymore as I was for some reason. It puts me back into this comfort zone. And I just kind of give them options, like, well, how are you going to pay me back? Or how are you going to fix this? Because you still have to take responsibility for your actions. So whatever they come up with, then I'm okay. But I've always kind of asked them, if this was yours, would you be okay with this?
Yeah.
Or what would you rather do if this was actually yours and like somebody else did this to you? And I let them come up with their own like disciplinary action sort of thing.
Oh man.
So it's good.
You make them swing their own sword, huh?
It is. It is. Because I wish my dad did that to me.
Yeah. Well, for us, it was like if it was that next step other than being mad at us, it was, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Right.
And that probably got both of us. We're like, oh,
yeah,
I
that
really
was horrible. I was like, oh yeah. Every time they said that, it was like, oh damn it.
Yeah. Now I know I really screwed up.
Yeah, I messed up big time. I'm sorry. What can I do?
Yeah.
No, you messed up already. That's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's live and learn kind of thing as a parent. So
yeah, I think instilling that permanence in the mistake, though, like what you were just talking about there, where it's like, no, there's nothing you can do. You done messed up at this point. Like there's the permanence part of it. It's that. Did you ever hear that story of the dad who made his kid, every time the kid did something bad, he hurt somebody, he put a hammer, or he took a nail and a hammer, put the nail in the fence, and then every time he did something bad to somebody, he put a nail in the fence. He goes, okay,
like nail, like
yeah, he just kept putting nails in the fence, and then he said, okay, now every time you apologize to somebody, take that nail out. So over time you take the nail out. He goes, but look at the fence. There's still holes in it.
Oh wow!
And I was like, I read that story, and it's certainly not a real story. But I'm looking around. I'm like, where's the fucking fence? Because I'm gonna need that thing.
That's funny. Yeah, because the holes represent like the scars, right?
Exactly. Like there's a permanence to what you do.
Everything you say.
Yeah.
It's so you were listening to what, episode 3, right?
I listen to all of them. Yeah.
But because sometimes we go down rabbit holes,
Oh yeah.
So like this is one of the things I kind of always like to talk about, like go down rabbit holes and things like that. So yeah, you have to watch out for what you say to people, because this is what I tell almost everybody I talk to, right? When they ask me questions like this, it's about picturing yourself like a human person, like a brand new baby, like a brand new, the same as a brand new computer, right? And the brain is like the CPU, right? Or like the hard drive, true?
Yeah.
And it's empty. There's nothing but like nothing. Maybe noises from birth or before birth or whatever. But eventually you start to download things into it, right? And that's from your parents, your grandparents, and everybody that comes into your life. There's a new thing coming in, new thing. And your hard drive keeps expanding as you grow, right? So there will be also potential attempts to get viruses in, right? So this is like bad influences. So hopefully by that time, you have gotten enough good information from the people that loves you or from good influences, right? To where you recognize that those are viruses. You don't want to open the email sort of thing, right?
Right.
And sometimes things just happen and you just have to kind of, sometimes the computers get overheated and you just have to deal with it when that happens. But for the most part, like the information that we're getting, it's there. So the thing is that even in a hard drive, even if you delete everything today from your computer, there's always a way to get it back. Everything that you had, you can take it somewhere and you pay big money and they'll get everything you had. And your brain is the same way. So you have your sub levels, right? Your subconscious levels, and everything that you're not consciously aware of right now is still in there. So if you allow positive things, nothing but positivity from, or you surround yourself with good people, everything that's going to be in your subconscious and while you're conscious is going to be nothing but good, right? You're going to be a good person, happy, loving, doing podcasts like these.
Yeah.
So, but if you allow the other stuff to come in, or if you start to, you identify them, but you ignore the red flags and you keep hanging out with these people, kind of like viruses, right? Even if you delete the information from your conscious state, subconsciously, they're still in there because it already traveled into your mind. It's already there.
Right.
And unfortunately, at times with certain life situations, they happen to come back in your memories.
Yeah.
And they manifest in ways like insecurity or weak. Or you just become weaker, right? Or very troubled. So that's how like powerful is our brain, like how the capability that we have as human beings, right? And I'm like fascinated with how we operate like a machine.
Yeah.
We're like an organic machine, basically, right? And so the point is that surrounding ourselves with good individuals, with happy, like creating our own sort of happy environment, right? It's ideal for like every situation because it will not only help you grow as an individual, but if other variables outside yourself are impacting you in a good or bad way, well, don't you think that what you do as well impacts others, right? So if you're allowing the same stuff to impact you in a positive way, well, I'm assuming that I will be doing the same thing to you. But if it's all negative, I would assume that I will be sort of a negative person, very like a hater, a naysayer, or whatever, and I will spread that negativity upon somebody else, even if I'm not aware of the fact that I am doing it, right?
Yeah.
So I believe that like the positive, anything that's positive, man, love always wins. At the end of the story, always defeats hatred and pessimism and doubts and insecurities because it's like the strongest force there is.
Yeah.
Right.
It's it's the positivity and negativity thing. Like no one really wants to be around anybody negative. I mean, you might want to read the comments section on Facebook or something like that, but for the most part, like the people you want to be around, where you're not on your phone and you're sitting there talking, like, I mean, you want to talk to someone who's positive. You don't want to be talking to Debbie Downer or anything like that.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think when I was going back through some of your episodes again, it's understanding like the human condition. Like you have all
Crazy.
that self-reflection inside. Like, you're thinking about everything that, RL is thinking about every little thing.
Right.
And you're a human, I'm a human, but you have no idea what's going on up here. And I just
Sure.
other than what you're saying, I have no idea what's going on underneath that NASA cap right now.
Right. Right.
It's scary, but it's fascinating at the same thing because at
It
the same
is.
time because people could be super convincing. People could be, and it's like then it's on you to be like, okay, I'm going to trust everybody until I get burned. At that
Right.
point. And then you're talking. Then you just let everything go and say, fuck it. I'm just going to talk to everybody, and then you get this positivity, like this conversation right now, man. Like I'm gonna be going to bed with a smile on my face tonight. For sure.
Yeah, it's not that hard, Like
It's
if
not.
it's not really that hard. Like the only and this is the thing. A lot of people that are afraid to express themselves to their true potential, right? Because if we were all made equally the same, right, like mirror to each other's, I can understand why a lot of people are so negative and so frustrated with society, because almost the whole entire society is like that right now,
Right.
right? There's a lot of negativity and hatred and all these things, and if you're like one of the ones that are spreading, everybody wants love and stuff, everybody wants the happiness, but if you're the one, like one of the few that are doing that stuff, you're almost kind of like the weirdo now in the picture, because they're like, how can you be so positive? How can you be so loving? Like you put in a show, or you're trying to like, but you just can't let people like that influence you, or let you down or put you down, because I feel like they are the ones in more like they're in more need of things like this. You know what I mean? So if you are capable and you recognize that, then now you kind of do like like you forgive them because they don't know what they're doing, right? And
Yeah.
you have to like have the sense of compassion for them, and hopefully they figure out that you're not putting up an act, that's your true you, and that you can be the same way.
Yeah.
So now there's two of us, and now we need a third one, and now we need a fourth and a fifth, and it just spreads like that, but in a good way, just like it does in a negative way. It can spread really,
Right.
and it seems like it spreads faster, the negative things, right?
It's the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
You were talking about why you started the podcast, because you wanted to be like, you were always creative. It would took you about 3 years to start getting going with the podcast, but then finally, like, you let that expression just unleashed. I think if people can let their expression unleash, whether it be podcasting, art, anything, like that negativity goes to zero. It just drops.
Yeah, like so like the thing is like that I always run into trouble, like I always trouble with is like, how do you express yourself um, to others, right? Without and without allowing others to hurt you, and without hurting them, right? It's very hard, because whatever you say, they may not agree with it, and you just kind of have to be like, okay, well, you don't agree with it. That's cool. That doesn't mean we hate each other, right? But
Right.
there's others that really get hurt by what you say, and how do you not let them come back to actually hurt you, right? Like, how do you protect yourself from doing that?
Yeah.
So I feel like through podcasts, if you're very neutral, right, you give opinions, and as long as people understand what's going on, and they respect your point of view, then that's great. That's the best way to communicate. And but there's always going to be the extremists,
Right.
like the radical minds that they want their way or the highway. And sometimes it's hard not to engage with them, because you're hearing like something that's not logical, and you're like, dude, use a little bit of logic, like what you're saying. It says to me, it sounds like you're saying this, and that's an awful thing to say.
Yeah.
But to them, they may be not hearing that. They just want to hear the fact that they're, oh, well, I'm right, you're wrong, sort of
Right.
thing.
I
So
win,
that
you
that
lose. I
mentality is
scored, you
wrong.
don't.
It's
Yeah.
like it's bad.
Yeah.
So, um, but you're what, like you're religious,
Uh,
spiritual.
yes, spiritual. I think spiritual more so than religious. I've got my challenges, but
You do.
Yeah, yeah. I think actually my biggest challenge, and I think I want to punch everybody in the face when they say this, is God has a plan. No, God doesn't have a plan, but God walks with us,
True.
and
So,
and there's
so
a
you think because so you think God walks with us as in like within us, or like he's like right here? Like what? How is your interpretation of that?
so for two examples of this. I guess I was always taught, and I think I always kind of relate to the best is that God gives us the tools to make our own decisions.
Right.
And he will walk through life with us side
Right.
by side when we make those decisions. And he
True.
will be like whether we do good or bad, he will be there.
Right.
And he'll judge and he'll support, but you're going to go through that entire experience, and he's not going to save you from that experience itself.
Right.
End of the
No.
line, salvation and everything, whole nother topic, a whole nother
Right.
3 hour conversation on Skype.
Right.
But day to day, he's with us, he's watching us, he's supporting us, he's judging us, but he's there. He's kind of
Right.
omnipresent.
Right. So yeah, that's like that's how I think too. Like, but like how I explain it to people, it's I try to, because I feel like when I grew up, it was like sort of Catholic,
Yeah.
like very Orthodox, and it was hard for me to grow up that way, thinking they're making so many mistakes, and like they're doing lots of things against what they preach, and how can they how can this be true? Like it has to be. Is God real then? It started making me question a bunch
Yeah.
of things about it, and but I think through science, like when I went down the rabbit hole with that stuff, like I don't think I could not believe in God more than ever because of science,
Really?
more than religion, and because it made me understand God in a different perspective than I was taught, that actually made more sense to me than theology itself.
Yeah.
So like theology is like it's just the study of belief, right, in God, in any deity that you have that you think of the
Right.
God, right?
Whoever the family you were born into was, that's the right one.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but if you remove theology, doesn't mean that God is being removed, right? Like God's still there. So you may remove the belief in the religious side, but you can still believe in like in the big picture.
Yeah.
So the problem becomes when the big picture looks like something that doesn't look like the same to somebody else,
Yeah.
right? But you can't really do anything about that because it's not really the image that you're concerned about, but what's the big idea, the big spectrum, or the big
Yeah.
deity, right? The head god kind of thing.
Right.
So in science, what I learned was that this wasn't like organic chemistry, and basically it was like your atoms, we're made out of atoms, right?
Right.
And atoms are surrounded by energy. So this energy, we have, I don't know how many millions or billions of atoms in our body, but everything else that is around us, the air that you're breathing, the tape, everything is made out of the same material, right?
Yeah.
Same matter. And so one of my professors, was asking me about this stuff, and like he said, can you taste air? And I said, no. Can you see it? Not really. I mean, unless there's smoke, right? But not what I'm breathing.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, so wouldn't you agree that that's like air is omnipresent, right? It's everywhere, but you can't see it. So I was like, yeah, the presence of oxygen or the atoms, it's presence, it's right there. But I can't see it. I can only use it, right?
Yeah.
So he was like, okay, then how can anyone argue that there isn't a big higher force, right? A God or something like that around us? And that's why it's omnipresent, because it's everywhere. It's like the air. It's like in you, outside of you.
Yeah.
You're just like a particle of it.
Yeah.
And And I was like, oh, wow, like really, I haven't really thought of things this way. Like, he's like, I've always pictured this dude in the sky. And he was like, well, it's like, those are depictions, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
by artists. So the problem is that if you paint them with white hair and the other one has red hair, then you start to fight about these things.
Yeah.
And but your scriptures or your almost most of them tell you the same thing. Like, remove the image, and that's where I'm gonna be at, right? That's because I'm everything, and I'm with you right now. So if you can, if the next time you see like your brothers and sisters, like the people in front of you, right? You have to be able to see me through them, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm in them as well, as much as I'm in you. And I was like, oh fuck, man! Like, you just like you're like you're just, are you trying to get in my head? Or
Yeah.
it was like, no, no. Like, you can read any of the scriptures, and I'm repeating you that, but in a scientific approach. So I was like, so then what about the Big Bang and all this stuff? It's like, it don't matter. What's on the other side of the Big Bang? Like, what is
Yeah. What
what
caused the
we
Big Bang? What all that
what we
all those?
don't know, right?
Yeah.
So that stuff that you can't see, that you don't know, that is everywhere, like the energy in atoms, that's what you could say is God. I mean, we could be in just God's stream right now, true?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he said, like, we're just the vessels, like the experience for this divine thing. Because if we do what we need to do and experience our life through the next 100 years. And when we get to the back, we have to eventually go back to the source, you know?
Yeah.
And when that happens, you'll realize, like, that ultimately it was you at the end,
Yeah.
you know, but not Arel or not Kyle, but what's within you, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that blew my mind. And since then, it kind of like switched my mentality about how I see the world now. Because like, I'm talking to you, and I know I'm talking to Kyle, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I know that if our Creator is in you too, I know my Creator is listening to me.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Oh, I I think we definitely got to publish this on YouTube and share it with
Oh yeah,
everybody because that's
that
that
is
I mean
deep.
that it will because that transcends both the theological part and the science part.
Exactly. That merges that together.
Yeah.
And I feel like theology, because when it organizes in certain ways,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like maybe it's not that science is trying to disprove the existence of God, but it's maybe the fact that proves the
Mm-hmm.
existence of God.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe it can affect other other views, like other religions, right?
Yeah.
For financial reasons or whatever. But don't they all ideally should want the same thing, unite, right? Everybody as one. True. That's the
Right.
ultimate goal, to accept one another as like one human race,
Yeah.
one loving family, right? And I don't know. We'll see. You know, like, we'll see. Maybe I feel like this is like my purpose, and like I finally had to like stop running for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And even my grandpa, Arthur, you know, he told me, you're gonna do great things, and by the time you're 40 years old, you're gonna be done walking in this desert, and by then you're going to be ready. And he always spoke in like metaphors and very prophetic sort of way.
Yeah.
For me, I was like, damn, dude, is this guy doing shrooms, or what's going on with this old man, you know?
Yeah.
But now that I'm older, I totally understand what he meant, you know. And the desert is like a metaphor for like the land, right?
Right.
And so I was like, wow. And it seems like everything he said to me, according to how he said it, throughout my life, events that have happened exactly the way he pictured them.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, dude, like, damn, how did he know so much? Did he just like predicted things based on his own experience, or then maybe it is that like God does talk to us through each one of us. Make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
And we are the perfect creation, so we are capable to understand or identify things that are wrong and right. So if somebody's, even if it's a guy telling me I am the God, and it's, I don't know, I see the glow outside of him, and it's telling me to do bad things, then I know that God will not tell me to do those things.
Right.
God would only tell me to do great things, right?
Yeah, I got to tell you, after 4 years of Catholic high school and 8 years of CCD, my understanding of God and faith is, I better understand it now after talking to you for 15, an hour and 15 minutes now, than 13, 14, 15 years of all that other education, all that theology and everything like that. So thank you on that one.
Oh, you're welcome, man. I love talking to people about God without talking about, but it's hard not to talk about religion, but I accept every religion, all of them, except the ones that are doing, or that are going into a radical realm, doing harm. That's no religion. That's more like a vicious cult. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
and that's where it goes back to, you can tell, we inherently should know what's right and wrong, right?
exactly. We inherit that, right?
And that's where I get frustrated when it's religion, things like this with, whatever religion, it's all of them. It's Westboro Baptist Church.
Too radical.
It's radical Islam.
Crazy.
It's all different types of religions. It's like, you know what's right and wrong. Why would you?
Of course.
Why would you go and do these things?
Yeah, exactly. So, and I'm very sarcastic too, unfortunately. Like, when it comes to do things like about, I don't know, like when I feel like someone, I don't want to say they're wrong, but when their point of view, I guess, is not, like, their intentions seem wrong, and I feel like people can. I don't think there's bad people. I think people have just been taught, like, ignorance, and they become like the people that have taught them these things.
Yeah.
I don't think you're born bad.
No.
You see what I mean?
No.
So to me, it's, like, religion is it could be, it's great in a certain spectrum, but I think ultimately it's the people that corrupt the meaning, the good meaning behind it, right? Because religion is just like, religion could have been called like some
anything
other
else.
word.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's us who do it. So if we have done it, then we can also fix things up.
Exactly.
You see what I mean? So it's definitely like, I'm pretty sure lots of people are not ready to hear things like this, but they were not ready for Jesus either. They were not ready for the Buddha.
No.
It was kind of like they knew that maybe their time will not comprehend so much. Maybe they were doing it, I feel like, for the future, to understand more of the past, one, and to relate better to whatever they were teaching us, right? Because I think, I feel like that way. I think that's what it is.
Exactly, and I've told my wife this all over again, over and over and over again. We went to Rome back last October, and we went through all these different ruins and everything like that. And the date of those ruins in Rome were approximately the same dates as other buildings and other structures in other countries that are still standing.
Right.
But in Rome, they're destroyed. And it's like, why were they destroyed? Because there was a shift from paganism to Catholicism. And at that time, they destroyed the shit out of everything. And it's like,
bunkers.
Look at the amazing things we could have learned for the future. Now we don't know what the fuck's up or down with some of these cultures, because it's like, we could have learned so much from that, but we decided to destroy it in the name of religion and then hit the reset button.
In the name of God.
Yeah, in the name, and then we blame God.
But it's like, so now it's God's fault, because it's like, in the name of God we did this. God told us, no, God did not tell you to do that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Like, if God is telling you to go kill your son,
there's no
right? To prove yourself to God.
Yeah.
And even if he stops you, right? But is it God stopping you? Or is it your own rationality, your own logic getting into you, saying like, hey, this is your son. Like, what are you gonna do? You crazy fuck, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I mean,
so
you got to know
so
what's right and wrong.
a God will not say that. You know, it will be more something like an evil force saying that, or your own mind maybe just, I don't know, in the wrong spot. They're processing things the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know, but we can't just blame. I don't. I I stopped fearing like something like the devil. You know, like something evil. I know there is everywhere. I know it's probably also inside of us, like it's in our nature. But but your will, right? Your choice, like what you choose between listening to your good you, to your bad you, whatever. It's you cannot never lose that
Right.
because it has been given to you. Maybe some people call that your soul, right?
Yeah.
However you want to interpret it, is you're the choice. So you have to choose always right, you know, always the good, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Uh,
And you're gonna be
and
challenged too, right? I mean, you're gonna hit those. You know, it's probably, it may not be evil challenging. It's just your environment that's gonna challenge
of
you,
course,
and you're gonna know
always.
what the right thing is to do after that challenge to overcome it. You know.
Yeah, definitely. But I still strongly believe that your environment right now is part of who you are based on what you have been taught
Oh yeah.
by a different environment. So it's like system of another system kind of thing, right?
Right.
And you have to identify whether that system was working great. So this is like our parents, their parents, right? How were they dealing with things? Um, what kind of like ideologies, like how far are they going, are they very radical? And to me they were right, like the way they disciplined each other, they treated each other. I mean, it's like, man, like this, I don't think God will want to do something like that. Like, what are they doing? So I, like I said earlier, like I see things getting better and better from generation and generation, as bad as it kind of seems like sometimes. But I think it is getting better in the long run.
Yeah.
So if we identify those things now, we may not be able to see the big change, right? But certainly we will see the big change through our kids and their kids. Make sense?
Yeah.
Problem is that we kind of want to be there to experience those things. But
Immediate
what makes
gratification.
us believe, true. So what makes us believe that we are not really there when that happens? So if let's hypothetically say we die, right? Like we're dying right now. We're gonna die. So the day that happens, like my body's gonna be buried and it's gonna get returned to earth, right? From ashes to ashes. So, but when you remove, right? Remember what it says, that first was the word, right? And God was the word, true? So
Yeah.
the noise and the sound. So if that's the case, if you remove this from me and I can still talk to you, you can still hear me, then who am I now?
That's
Right?
yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I die, when I return, what happens to me? Like what's inside of me? I go back to the source. So it's in a way you become like this. You become kind of like the source, or you become part of it because you're not really entirely the source. You're just part of it, right?
Right.
But you're still here, present. So this is why, like, in certain religions, right? I think even in like Christianity, like they don't want you to suffer for your death one, or for your the people who have passed, right? They want you to take, like, I think up to 3 days of what is the word?
Bereavement.
Right. And but after that, you have to move on, even though it's very hard, right?
Yeah.
But you have to move on, but because as God said to do this, God said to do that. But I think not giving the right explanation to people is where people start to feel like, shit, man, I miss my dad. Like, I miss my son. I miss this person. Like, come on. Like, God, why did you do this? And you start questioning God and questioning all these things. But if you use science and you can make someone understand that if God is everywhere and seen within you, and even when you die, if essentially you are becoming part of God, right? Then even if someone passes away, now that person is with you forever essentially until your journey is done. But it's sort of like everywhere. It's in you, in your mind, in your grandpa, in your friends.
Yeah.
It's in the oxygen, right?
Yeah.
So if you see things that way, then you will never feel. You will feel sad because the experience themselves are not present, right, in matter, but they're right here.
Yeah.
So every time I've lost someone and I feel like reminiscing about like their journey or the journey we experienced together, because as you get older, you get like that, right?
Yeah.
You start to think about things that way.
Yeah.
And for my grandpa, is like my father figure. So every time I start to feel that way, I kind of reset my own buttons and I tell myself like, hey, son, and I kind of like portray my grandpa like the way he counseled me to when I was a kid, and I'll hold myself, right? Because if he's within me, then hey, shit, he's right here with me too. Make sense?
Yeah.
And hey, don't cry today, man. I'm still here with you.
Yeah.
You can still go hunting with your kids. I'm still gonna be hunting with you.
Yeah.
And I kind of like remember like, oh yeah, like come on, man, like grandpa's here, like your best friend's still here. Don't feel so sad, like they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And I kind of teach my kids that same ideology, so in a way to, I feel like it makes you more loving and more accepting about God himself,
Mm-hmm.
rather than thinking, God is kind of like right here or like right here.
Yeah.
No, it's like right here. I'm kissing my God, but not that I am God myself. Make sense?
Yeah.
So for me, it's like you're listening right now, so I know God is doing it. So hey, dude, if I'm wrong, just don't be so tough at the end of the gate. And that's all I can say to people.
Yeah.
If God is listening, right?
Right.
So that's kind of how I approach life, because it makes me appreciate every human being better. I cannot hate anyone, because to me, if I do that, then I'm essentially also hating God.
Yeah. That's pretty. That one's pretty deep right there.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's hard not to love someone now, because it's like, dude, it's right there. Like you are in front of yourself in a sense, right?
Yeah.
So I like stuff like that, and my kids get it. They're like wow, like that's pretty deep. Like how many, especially look, like how many times have you gotten late because the ways you talk to like girls? And I'm like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like what are you talking about? I can't tell you that,
Yeah, we'll
like,
talk about that when you're older.
Come on, man, just tell me. Like it's fine. Like I'm like, dude. I mean, I don't know.
You're 14. We'll talk about that when you're
14.
18.
It's funny, man.
I tell you, after what you were talking about, I understand. I think as you were talking, Father Pels, who did my son's service, he started talking from the book, and then he closed the book. He goes, "You're not going to find any answers here."
Right.
And he just went completely. He took a hard left. And I wish I could remember everything, but from that point, I can't.
But I do read though.
Yeah.
I do read. I read the Bible, and I read like other scriptures, not just the Bible.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But there's something to be said for in yourself and the people around you.
Yeah.
That's what's with you every day. It's like you can pick up the book at any time, but that's not around you all the time. No. You're around yourself all the time. You're around your wife, your girlfriend, your kids, everyone else. You're surrounded by.
Right.
You're surrounded by something different than something someone wrote by divine inspiration.
Right.
And I think I'm going to end this podcast a very changed man after talking to you.
That's
because
good.
I think I understand this a little differently. Hopefully, people listening and watching, if anybody watches this, will think the same thing.
So, like, your Instagram is Dads and Angels. Right?
Yeah. So the podcast is Dads and Angels podcast. on Instagram, and then my own is Kyle underscore Mork.
That's your personal one?
Yeah. I go back and forth between the two of them. I just kind of do them as on my own, out of my own creativity more so than anything.
Yeah, I'll use the Sprite Show for the show and Arel Sprite for, just more like my adventures kind of thing. I try to keep them a little separate, but it's hard to.
Yeah, when it's such a big, it becomes kind of like when you're doing this, doesn't it just kind of become like I have to do this? Like this is me. Like
it's addicting.
It is. And it stresses you out, but at the same time you're like, all right, I got to get home. Like I told Amanda so many times today, I'm like, I'm so excited to record tonight. I go, we're gonna talk longer than any other episode I've ever done. I can already tell you just from watching your episodes. I'm like, but I get to like. With just like my show, it's pretty narrow, like with the market for it and everything. But for yours, it's so wide. And I'm like, oh, I get to just talk,
thank you.
And more importantly, I get to listen. That's the best part. Like you have to listen. You have to like when someone's talking, like when I'm listening to you talk about everything that you were just talking about, I put the pen down and I just love to listen.
Oh, you write stuff. Yeah, I noticed that you write stuff down. Like,
yeah, because I've got like I mean you're definitely like with your name means Spirit of God and everything like now pieces of the puzzle are starting to fit together quite a bit, but
that's like my Hebrew name.
Yeah,
but it comes from like my original like my society's name from the initials.
Gotcha.
So but it's kind of funny that like the meaning of my name in English, it goes back to the origin, right? Like how it was back then, the Hebrews, or what was the first language?
Aramaic.
Aramaic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but the meaning itself, whether you're saying it in Hebrew or English, is still the same. And that's what it tripped me out. But at first I was like, whoa. So why would I mean, I can use either or, right? But I really like this one. So then I stuck to that. And funny thing is, I always hear people asking me if I'm somehow related to Sprite, and I'm like, what? Like, what makes you, it's like no one calls themselves Sprite. It's like, whoa, there's an explanation all the time, but. Yeah. It's hilarious, man. It's just funny.
Try having the last name of an alien played by Robin Williams. That's
what?
Mork and Mindy?
Oh, Mork and Mindy. Oh
my God. Like, people always talk about, like, my people always made fun of my name. I'm like, try having a name where the teachers made fun of you because they called you Mork from work, and then the students made fun of you, called you Mork the Dork. It's like, I got it from all angles, man. So there's not much else you can really do to me at this point.
Yeah, it's good to talk to people, man. I think it's very therapeutic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of the guys that come on my show. Every single person who's been on the show that's lost somebody, they're like, I feel so much better after just being able to tell my story.
Yeah.
And then I got to tell mine. I had someone else come on and kind of co-host. One of my best friends, I had him come on, and again a guy I met. Through the show, through my wife, and through everything that we had all been through. And I got to tell my story, and I was like, man, it's like liberating to be able to tell this story.
It is. Not many people want to talk about these things. That's the problem.
No. And dads especially, like guys, don't want to do it,
Yeah, it's like a Pandora box, they feel like. But you know what? This what I think is like, if you're the maker, right? Mm-hmm. You're like the maker, you're the key, you're the door, you're the box inside the room where you're going in, and whatever is in there is you and part of your experience. And even if you don't want to ever face it, you're facing it somehow subconsciously.
Oh, yeah.
And it's gonna be a bigger battle not facing your fears, right?
Fighting it off.
Because you're not gonna win.
Nope.
It's meant for you to face them because it's trying to make you stronger. Otherwise, you're always going to run from things.
Yep.
And shit, man, when I faced mine, it was like, ooh, I never want to be back the way it was,
No. No.
It's like you grow stronger.
Yeah.
So
and you don't have a choice. Even if you want to go back to the way it was, you don't have there ain't no going back. That's the thing.
No. It's like who you were, like, like I am who I am now,
Exactly.
not who I was. So what yeah, whatever is my true potential in the future, it's I have this picture of like how I see myself, before the end of my time, and that's how I need to become, like who I want people to remember me by.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no way back for me.
Yeah. It's nice when when you get all in like that, which is like there's no other option. It's cool.
Yeah, there's no other option, and it's good to help people out, because you have to relate to everyone and like what their struggles are.
Yeah.
And if other people are able to relate to you and to like your podcast, to mine, and maybe it will help them come out of their bubble and express how they're being feeling, because I find this like more therapeutic, like a lot more helpful than going to a psychologist who really doesn't want to hear your bullshit.
No.
You know what I mean?
No, they're there 9 to 5. They don't care.
And who knows what's going on in their own personal life, that maybe the advice they're giving you is based upon like their own mental state, right? So if they're a hater, if they're going through a really hard time, man, I really don't think that the answers you're getting are the right answers right there.
Yeah.
So, but in here, it's kind of like you went through stuff, and it's gonna be part of your life, but you're not telling people how to, like, you should do this, but you're telling them, this is my experience. It may help you deal with yours in a different way, or it may not. It's really up to the receivers, like the viewers or the listeners, right?
Yeah.
So as long as you know that you're doing a good stuff, you're doing great.
Hey, so are you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's nice when like you just, like you say, like in here, like we just kind of create these environments for ourselves where it's like, here's all the shit that's going on out here, but when we're in here, this is what we're talking about right here. Like we could talk about that stuff, or we could talk about something completely different, but we've always got that understanding going on that this happened, but whatever. Like let's talk about life. Yeah. Let's talk about how awesome life is.
People don't do that on a normal basis.
No.
I mean, you find people don't want to do that.
No, they look at you weird when you want to do it too.
They're like, oh, let's text, bro. Like, no, like you don't want to talk.
Yeah.
Come on, man. It's like, bro, but like, I don't know what to talk about. What do you mean? Like, the shit you're texting me, like, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
But I already texted to you, but it made no sense to me when you texted to me.
Yeah, there's no inflection. There's no.
I want to see your face. I want to hear your voice. Like if you want to cry, okay, I'll cry with you a little bit.
Yeah.
There's no wrong with that. But it's like this society we're built up up to this point. It's like, oh, you're silly, you're gay, you're this, you're that because you cry, because you're expressing yourself this way. It's like, no, I'm a human being. Yeah. I don't want to just be human. I want to be my true me, human being. So that's what makes us unique, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like lots of people are being just regular people and not
what everyone else tells them to do. You're just kind of like a drone.
This is the best, man. This is the best way to do it.
I love it.
I wish we can get like a podcast where like people can just call multiple people kind of thing, and because I've never seen something like that, to where you can talk to different podcasters at the same time and different people, and it becomes some sort of like, I don't know, like a therapy or I don't know. It's all about making friends, right? Making like good experiences. So
exactly.
That's what it's all about for me right now.
We became friends. This is messed up. Man. We became friends through a hashtag podcast. Podcast.
That's crazy.
And like I was just like, oh, I'll check this out. And look at him like, oh, I'm messaging him right now. I think I let the dog loose on the leash, and I'm sitting there texting you. I'm like, hey, let's get something together. Like, where else? Like, what a world we live in that we could actually do this, you know?
I mean, we have the internet, you know.
Yeah.
Thank God, like hopefully it never goes down.
No, I think it skipped out a little bit a couple times here during the
No, but
chat, but I
like
think we're
like
good.
overall, like hopefully it never like if it goes down, I can see the world just
Oh
going
yeah,
crazy nuts. You
yeah.
know,
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
like it could be letters and telegraphs right now, like doing this stuff. Like back in the day, like
Yeah.
it's like you're at in two places right now at the same time.
It's
You
kind of
know,
it gets a little trippy after a little while, you know.
it is. It's amazing, man. It's amazing. I
It's
wonder like what's gonna happen in the future. You know,
you will quite literally be in
you'll
two
be
different
there like
places.
holographically or something like that.
Yeah, I'll just be like walking around. We'll be rolling in San Diego, like
That would be
rolling
amazing.
with
That
a
would be just
holograph.
amazing.
That'd be pretty funny. It's like, oh, what are you doing later? Well, my buddy's coming over. He's gonna holograph over. We're gonna roll for a little while. Like,
That's hilarious. That's like, yeah, to think about that stuff is just like, no, you're still dreaming. But shit, man, like, I was thinking about things that are happening right now when I was 6 years old and living through and see these things, this technology, right?
yeah,
It's like, no, it's not just a dream. It's happening. It's
yeah,
just like happening slower than we've seen them in the movies, you
right,
know?
right. It's all Brave
So,
New World stuff, you know. Brave New World and the crazy stuff. What is it? The biggest
great.
influences of technology are Brave New World and Batman. So
Yeah.
like all the technology that we have, like some crazy percentage of the technology we have today comes from that book Brave New World or the Batman comic book series.
Some movie,
It's
man.
like holy
It's,
shit.
whoever thought of them. I mean, I think we all have we think of how our future could be 100, 200, 1,000 years from now, right?
Yeah.
And it may turn out to be that way one
Yeah.
day, you
Yeah.
know, but not just in our lifetime.
Yeah.
But it's definitely crazy to see at least a glimpse of what's like how far we have become, and as far as like our development and on human evolution.
Yeah.
I mean, we could be still chipping rocks and hitting our wives with the sticks or something,
Yeah.
and running away from dinosaurs or giant turtles, you know.
Right. Right.
So
As long as we keep
yeah, man,
ourselves in check, we'll just stay away from that a little bit, huh?
we're blessed. This is the life, you know. This is like living the dream kind of thing.
It is. It is, man.
It's amazing.
Oh man, but you know, I don't want to keep you too late here, but man,
So it's
an
been
hour,
an hour and a half, hour and 40. Oh wow, it went long. Nice.
yeah, about an hour and 40-something minutes, man. So I can't thank you enough for taking the time and you know just sitting here and talking about life, man. I was excited for this. I'm even more excited once I get off. I don't think I'll be able to sleep tonight, but
Nice. Thanks for having me for sure.
no
Like
problem.
we definitely have to. I have to pick you up on the hunting stuff.
Oh yeah, well I tell you what, if there's a way I can get you down to a place in Texas that we go. It's a great place for a first time either bow
So,
or rifle hunter. It's for hog hunting. It's like a low high fence type of thing. I'll send
yeah,
you some pictures of from when we were
that'd be
down there.
nice.
Yeah, and you could definitely bring your son. So I'll kind of let you know if I get to go this year, I'll let you know what the dates are. If not next year, we'll get the dates to you.
Where are you at right now?
I'm in Chicago right
In
now.
Chicago,
But
okay.
it's a place we go down to in Texas. Super cheap, and you know I can get you set up with my rifle and an extra bow or whatever. So
Yeah, that'd be nice.
we'll definitely.
Yeah, Luke would love it.
Yeah, he will. He will. He will. It's an
You come
experience.
to San Diego at all?
I will be hopefully sometime soon.
I mean, just come visit, man. You have a place, you know.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate it.
Definitely, maybe, yeah. Like we can do another episode in here too.
That would be really
It'd be
cool.
nice.
That'd be real cool. So.
That'd be good.
All right,
Awesome.
Arel. Well, I'll let you go for tonight, man, and I'll let you know once all this stuff gets. I'll send you the files for everything. We can put it on both shows at the same time and go from there, man.
All right, Kyle.
All
It
right.
was awesome meeting you, dude.
Later, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
Keep doing what you're doing.
You too.
Thank you.